Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 4:03, and we are not having a structured meeting today because this is a working session, and this is primarily for our report to DPI. And DPI's report is not due to us until March 15th, but as I understand, they'll have it tomorrow. And it is their final. So this will be the last one we get from DPI. Now, I got some things I need to remind everybody of for April. First of all, we do have a lawyer, Chris Campbell and his firm are now representing us. We've got a few little glitches there, but I'm going to talk about that as we go along. I want to remind folks for policies for April 9th, just to kind of have a draft together or read over those recommendations, HR recommendations. Candace and Tammy, if you all can put some of your recommendations together for policies you think that would work well with HR. ASL is Mickey and Ray. And you all might consult. I see Dr. Lawless here, and you all may consult with her if you would like. And then communication with the board. Jimmy and I will talk to Chris about what kind of policies we want to set up for that kind of communication going forward. All of you back some time ago, and it has been on December the 8th, we got this letter from the Ethics Commission. Chris sent an email today that I forwarded to you, and we need to fill out the ethics form that he sent the link for, and everybody has to do that. Yeah, Candace?
So this is about the ethics. Correct. And that is required.
Yes.
Just a second. The ethics letter is required for voluntary members of the board. Excuse me, voting members of the board. Voting, right. Voting members. I'm sorry. Hold on. So this is including non-voting members as well. Would need to complete this. And Tammy's saying, I think all board members, so it would include voting and non-voting. And then Candace saying, well, the first paragraph specifically mentions voting members. So I'm not complaining. It's fine. I'm happy to fill out whatever form I need to fill out. I just wanted clarification. State Ethics Committee, and then making sure that that's voting, non-voting members will all go through that process then together.
Candace, Chris, our lawyer, will be at the April 9th meeting, and this is not due until April 26th. So we can ask him then.
Okay, I had talked with Kathleen Oh, that was a while ago, back in the summer. And it was related to this. I am happy to, reach back out again. I don't mind doing that.
Okay. Next, as far as the ethics committee, oh, I'm sorry, Tammy.
Thank you. Yes. So regarding that letter, I did also try to click the link to fill out the form, but none of our board positions were listed there. Had like elected positions. So I think maybe we should kind of wait until April 9th. And that way we make sure maybe we can do that in person. That might be easier than trying to do, it this way. Maybe we just have one paper or something that we could sign. And then it's talking about taking or completing a training, the compliance training. Didn't we do that? What was that? That was back in the fall. I thought we went to the North Carolina Board of Education and we did that training. And didn't we take that ethics part already as a part of that training, or would this be a different additional training we would need to do?
That I'm not sure about. But I can ask Chris those questions and find out for sure. And we can do that at the April 9th because we're going to meet a little bit early for a tour. So we can get together and do that. I just wanted everybody to be sure that they got the emails from Chris concerning that and that everybody was on board with that. You got another question, Tammy?
Yeah, you were saying the next meeting is
9th.
the 9th? Okay, sorry. That might not have been clear. So 9th, yes, okay.
My typing. Okay. Before we go any further, I would like to ask Dr. Buckwell to introduce himself to the board, and then we can introduce ourselves to you. I'm glad to see you today, Dr. Buckwell.
It's good to be here. I've been on Teams all day, and coming back to Zoom is my home, so it's good to be here. I'm Chip Buckwell. I'm working with the schools, the three residential schools, on their transition to independent state agencies, and worked very closely with Mark and with Tanya and their team. And I look forward to completing this process and supporting you guys through the transition.
Thank you very much for being here. I'm Sandy Turner, and I am chair of the board. I don't know how you are on your screens, but Tammy, since you're vice chair, would you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hello. I'm Tammy Weiner, and I live in Maryland, near Annapolis. And I am a former graduate of North Carolina School for the Deaf. So, I guess Jimmy maybe next.
Where is Jimmy? Oh, there he is. You all lost him.
Yeah, this is Jimmy Autry here. And I also graduated from the North Carolina School for the Deaf and was chosen by the State Board of Education as their representative for the Board of Trustees. So it's nice to meet you.
Mickey.
Hello, I'm Mickey White. I was a teacher at NCSD for 31 years, and I live here in Morganton.
Candace.
Hello, I'm Dr. Candace Tate, and I am a clinical psychologist. I work here at Broughton Hospital. And I have worked with a background of mental health. Oh, sorry. Hold on just a second. She said she might try to speak for herself. So hold on just a second. That might.
I'm switching the voice. I think maybe I wore the wrong shirt and that it's really hard for the interpreter to understand what I'm saying. So I'm switching the voice so it's much more clear for the audience to understand me. I apologize for that. I've been profoundly deaf since birth, and I graduated from Gallaudet University in the clinical psychology program. I worked in state governments, most notably the director of the mental health, developmental disabilities, and substance abuse for deaf populations in the state of Georgia. And so I'm very familiar with policies at the state level and HR and IT, budgeting, so on and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to diving into these populations. So it's great to finally meet you.
Good to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And we have one more, Ray.
Hey, I am Ray. I am the representative for the North Carolina School for the Deaf Alumni Association. I grew up attending the School for the Deaf. I also teach at Blue Ridge Community College, teach ASL there, and my son is currently a student at NCSD. He's been there since kindergarten. He's now in fourth grade. So I grew up with deaf parents, so child of deaf adults as well. We're going to have an interpreter switch.
Okay. We ready?
It's good to meet you all.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your chance to ask Dr. Buckwell questions if you have them. I have one. In our bill, there was speak of a transition plan. Is there a transition plan, Dr. Buckwell, or?
So, I am muted. From a formal sense, there's not a step-by-step plan. As we have come up with questions from the directors, as we've come up with questions from boards, we've taken those questions back to the department and tried to have the appropriate entity within the agency answer those questions as they come up.
Other questions? Tammy?
So I'm curious, are you talking about anyone in the department as far as working close together with the departments?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead. So, yes, ma'am. So, like, if it's a finance question, it's going pretty much to Alexis Schaus and her team. If it's an HR question, it's going to Dr. Blunt and their team, Dr. Hudgens and her team in EC. Always coordinating with Dr. Morrow and Dr. Jordan to make sure that we have the appropriate person or team answering the question. And also every time just about is making sure that the legal team with headed up by Allison is involved to make sure that the answers are accurate and that they are complete.
Okay, thank you. Name? Oh,
Mickey?
Candace asked for name.
Mickey?
Now, I want to also say that we're very happy that you're here. It's nice to be able to just to put a face with the name that we've heard so much. As you know, a lot of these responsibilities that are transferring to NCSD as of July the 1st require a lot of money and a lot of training and even some new positions for us. Do you foresee that will happen? We're really kind of panicked about how soon the transfer date is and how much money we need, especially for our own legal protection, as well as for training and positions for business office and HR especially. So how do you foresee that going forward?
We were just in a meeting with Kara McCraw from the state legislature, and this issue was brought up almost immediately from November when I came on board. One of the first questions I had was, do they have legal representation? Because there's a lot of things that have got to be supported with legal. In addition, we are advocating and very familiar with the additional positions or the reclassification of current positions that need to happen. And I would encourage Mr. Patrick and his team to make sure they re-include that in their March report, because it was included in the December JLOC report, or the board's JLOC report from December. And I would encourage you to include that again in March, because it's going to be very important. I will say that Ms. McCraw, and I can't speak for her, understands the urgency, and they're working with the legislature to make sure that they are addressing the issues that are critical to the successful transition. I don't have a vote in the state legislature, obviously, so but I think that they are aware. I know they are aware of the issues that you're facing.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions from the board? Jimmy?
So I have a question for Chip. Are you responsible for the 3 different schools? The students at NCSD, just to make that clear.
Yes, sir. I'm working with all 3 schools. I'm primarily trying to answer or get answers to questions, because I haven't had a background in DPI, but I'm trying to make sure that we answer questions as they come up by getting the right person to the table to answer those questions. In addition, I have worked with each of the schools on their policy side to make sure that the policies recommended or required that were in the North Carolina School Boards Association list have been, for lack of a better word, translated to each of the different schools and as state agencies. And that's really where I became concerned about making sure you had legal representation, because those need to be vetted by legal prior to your approval.
This is Sandy. Yes, we're very much aware of that, and Chip Campbell is already looking into that with us. I've got a question, if you can explain it. We are a board of trustees, and most our local school boards, we realize that we're kind of a hybrid creation. Can you explain to us the difference in what we will do and what a normal regular school board does?
This is what I think I know versus what I think your legal team would be able to describe to you in great detail. And I have been in touch with Campbell Shatley today, and I'm going to be working with their legal can't think of the exact word or the exact person, but their person's been in touch with me today to get in touch with them on Thursday. So we have a meeting Thursday. The way I read HB 11 and the way I think we're proceeding is that you will act almost directly like a Board of Education would act. There are some different provisions because you are a state agency. So we're trying to clarify, and it came up again today, how you work through the Office of Business Management, OSHR, the Department of Administration, and those types of things, instead of working like a school district would work through DPI. So there are some differences, some of them major differences in how the school would work through the way this law has been written and the way it's been is to be administered. So there are some differences. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Candace?
So, given the lack of clarity as to the official status of NCSD at this moment, maybe a specialty schools and so on, the policies that you've been pulling, what model are you using to pull policies from different areas? So I'm guessing there's policies from OSHR, there's policies from DPI, there's policies from, there's a variety of different places I'm seeing policies coming from to regulate the school. And then in addition to that, who is the official accrediting and regulatory bodies for the schools?
So I have been editing the policies from the North Carolina School Board Association. Where they differ from OSHR and OSMB and other state agencies, I'm clearly deferring to your legal counsel. My background is completely public school units, and I've been working exclusively through the School Boards Association for and their policy manual to edit their policies to fit what the three individual schools would need. There are some policies in there, and we are going back through those now to determine which ones are inappropriate because you'd be dealing with OSHR and or OSBM or the Department of Administration for procurement for whatever reasons, Department of Treasury. So we are working back through those to make sure that there's some clarity coming from your legal representation to make sure that the policy side of it is accurate. So there's going to be varied policies that you have. You're going to get some from the North Carolina School Board Association, some from OSHR, some from OSBM, and from other state agencies. It's a hybrid.
Candace?
And just one follow-up question. This may be evident to everybody else, but is there an expectation that we will have all of the policies needed in beautiful shining form adopted by July 1st?
So that was another question for today. And the Campbell Shatley team, along with another team that's representing the Eastern North Carolina School, Pointer Sproul, was in a conversation today about potentially gaining some authority for the board to adopt policy prior to July 1st that's effective on July 1st. From my perspective, there's no guarantee that's going to happen, but that was a discussion today that would allow you to adopt policy effective July 1 that was passed prior to July 1. But that's not in place yet, and there's no provision for that yet, but they are aware and they are talking between the two lawyers' offices. They are talking about how they make that happen.
So the board can understand what Dr. Buckwell is referring to, Campbell and Shatley, who represents us, also represents Governor Moorhead School. Brian Shaw is from a firm in Rocky Mount, and he represents the Eastern School.
I'm sorry, can you say that name again?
Brian Shaw.
Thank you. And represents. Thank you.
So, so you all will know who is involved in legal. Does anybody have any other questions for Dr. Buckwell? Tammy?
Ray? Okay, I have a question. It's just short. So as far as our understanding for NESD, is the budget going to be the same every year? With the reclassifications, relabeling, is that going to impact the budget, or will it increase, or will the Board of Trustees take over that? Kind of curious what that looks like, the budget.
Because the budget's set by the state legislature, I would be afraid to comment one way or the other, because I have no way of representing them and what they would do. Based on reading the law, HB 11, I'm really confident that for 24-25, you're going to have the same budget. I am also confident that they are reading the JLOC report, so it is important for you to include in your JLOC report the needs of the school and what it's going to take to run the school and your estimates of what that's going to look like.
Candace?
Given that, you just gave me a key piece of, so I've been editing the JDOC reports as people are putting stuff in. When we're writing to writing the report to the legislature, do they appreciate short bulleted points or more background information, substantiating bullet points of what we need? I don't want to get too wordy. I've not had to write a report like this for legislature. So what do they need?
I can appreciate that, because I too am concerned about how we word our report. I think that they understand the implications well. So I think a brief, but somewhat detailed, if there's little things that are particular to the North Carolina School for the Deaf that you think that may not have implications to Eastern or to Governor Moorhead, I would put those in there with some detail. But I think they are understanding of the implications of this law and what it means to transition by July 1.
Tammy? Oh.
Do you mind if we do interpreter switch?
Oh. Why am I sparkling?
I want to go back to discuss another point. I know that we're sort of, rushing to review policies before July 1st, but I just want to clarify, we still need to do a policy review, or Dr. Buckwell, you're saying, we'll just be able to pull that from other entities and use those policies moving forward. We need to do them ourselves. Would just maybe walk me through that again? Sure.
So the way that I think you're going to go forward with this is Mr. Patrick and his team would review the policy. They would create a draft for this board. That same draft would go to Campbell Shatley. Then between Campbell Shatley, the administration of the school, and the Board of Trustees, you would come to some agreement on what that policy needed to say and what the implications of that policy are. And you would then approve that policy at some point, provided that you're given, when I say permission, I don't know how to say it a different way, but you're given authority to pass those policies. You would have that opportunity to then go into each individual policy, review it, and then approve it based on you being given authority to approve those policies, effective July 1.
This is Sandy. For the board's benefit, Chris has addressed that in a meeting with Mark, Mickey, and myself, and they are going to pull the top priority policies that we need to address immediately before July 1. They will pull those policies. They will meet with Mark and the school. They will review and recommend to us what they want in those policies, and then the policies will come to us and we will approve or make suggestions to their suggestions. But Chris, the lawyer, will be with us every step through that. So we're not going to have to take Law 101 to get through these.
Campbell Shatley has an immense amount of experience with policy development. You couldn't be in better hands, I don't believe.
Is there other questions? Dr. Buckwell, thank you very much for those important answers to our questions. I want to talk a little bit about what is going to be called the Fix-It Bill. And that's FIX-IT bill. This is a bill that's being worked on right now through the legislature. Representative Blackwell's working on it, and Representative Fortnoy's working on it. And they are working on tweaking House Bill 11 so that it will answer a lot of the questions that the boards have found out that they need answered in the very near future. And that will probably be addressed in short session. So I will be in touch as soon as we know more about that. We will be able to look at that, and we've made a list of some of the things that we think should be in there, and some of the costs that we think that are going to be incurred by each of the schools. It's not just us, it's Eastern and Moorhead. So as that, it is a work in progress. As that moves along, I'll definitely let you know what I know. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? It's not a French term, it is fix it. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about something that Chris asked Mickey and I to take a look at, and that was this year's school budget. We did that. We sat down with Ms. Dye and talked about a few things. I'm going to send some of that material on to Wallace. I hate that he's not here today, but I'm going to send that material on to Wallace, and I'm going to share that with the rest of you also. I think I sent you an email this morning that Hannah Dye sent to me. You need to take a good look at that. What Chris had asked us to do was to look at the monies that are not set in stone, like salaries. The budget, salaries consume a very large part of it. So we need to look at those things that can be moved from line item to line item. And then we can have a clear understanding of the monies that we need to be asking for. So I know I've heard from many of you that you're being swamped with emails, but other than a few raggedy ones of mine that come through, they're all important. And I see some of you shaking your head that they're not. Does anybody have any questions about that? Is that a question, Candace?
Are you talking about this, the budget March report?
I'm talking about the budget that NCSD is using right now, the 23-24 budget that they're using right now that Hannah gave us reports on 2 meetings ago, and she also sent a document this morning that I sent on to all of you. It was the March report that they got.
It's an Excel report. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I tried to print it on 11 by 17 paper, and it's
What comes out
3,000 pages long.
what comes out of the printer is not what you see on your screen. I don't know. I see Hannah's here. Maybe we could ask Hannah what format that's in. I don't, because I tried to print it too, and it is not. It doesn't print. There's Hannah.
Hi. So for me, what I do is I open it in Excel, I download it to my computer, and then print it from there. So you really should be looking at about 14 pages.
Well, when I tried to print it, I got a little narrow strip. That's all I got.
Okay. I was going to say, if you're all still having trouble, I can print copies and just leave them at the school if that would be more beneficial.
Well, really for us, it's better to get it electronically because we're so spread out that we can't. I mean, Tammy has no way to get by the school. Wallace and Ray are all out of town. So it's really better to get them electronically if we can. Right. Candace.
If I may clarify, the Excel budget that I'm looking at has more than 13 active worksheets. Are you talking about printing out each of those worksheets, or am I just looking at the wrong thing?
No, ma'am. At the bottom of the tabs, they'll see, I think we're the third tab over, but it just says 13510 and 1862. And when you click on that tab, that's all I'm referring to. I'm not referring to the whole report.
Okay. That was huge. Okay. Okay.
You really would be buried in paper, Candace. Any other questions about the budget?
I just wanted to say, this is Tanya. If you need help with printer settings, because I can tell you how to print it on one sheet so it all fits on one sheet. If anybody needs help, they can call me or text me and I can help you guys print if you need to print it.
No more printing all on one sheet for me. It's too small. Cannot read it. Okay. Other questions? Tammy?
Sorry, I just am curious. Some of the additional names of people that we have here, if you don't mind, maybe could we go through and just see who else is here? I know there's Jana, Sam. I think I've met maybe one of these at the last meetings. Jana Lawless. Edmund Long. Just wondering who some of our other attendees are. I'm just wondering for my own curiosities.
Hi, my name is Ren Larson. I'm a journalist with The Assembly, which is a statewide magazine that writes on politics, policy, and power.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Sam Moss.
Well, I don't think they can get in.
Yeah, Ray saying Sam's deaf. Tammy's like, I wonder who else is. Yeah, and he's saying Sam is a retired teacher. He worked at NCSD for a long time. He's retired from NCSD.
Aaron, can they open their screen?
No. And Aaron's IT. Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And Rin Larson. Let me see. Oh, she was the
Party
one that
currently
we
has
just
the
met.
same access.
Amy said, yes. I'm just trying to figure out who all we've got here. Just if you can introduce yourself, that'd be great. This is Ray saying, I know some of these individuals. I recognize some of the names. So like I said, Sam Moss retired from NCSD. He worked there for a long time. Jana Lawless, I believe, still currently teaching, but I'm not sure, but was teaching. Dr. Wilson is our audiologist at NCSD. And I missed one name who either has retired or is still currently working or teaching there. Shirley. Then you've got our nurse. So I'm recognizing some of these names. It seems like most of the people who are joining us are either currently working at NCSD or have formerly worked at NCSD.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to our report discussion. From what I understand, DPI's report is supposed to be out tomorrow. Hold on, we're going to change interpreters. You ready? Okay, DPI's report is supposed to be out tomorrow. As I spoke before Ray got on, their report is due on the 15th, the same day ours is. It is their final, so we will not get another report from them. We are working through with the lawyer of the things that we really need to emphasize in this report. And I sent all of you a Word copy. I don't know about you, but I find that a little bit easier to get into. Now, I have put it on Google Docs, and I don't know here. Okay. Let me see.
Are you able to share your screen?
I do not know if I can or not. I am here trying to get back in the meeting.
Candace is saying she's ready.
Candace is ready.
Tammy's asking, do we need to give be able to share this? Can we share the screen? Maybe this need permission for that. Erin, are you able maybe to give permission so she can share it and we can all see it together?
Erin, I can't.
For mics, cameras, and share.
Okay, there it is. Here we go. Okay, whose screen is this?
Candace?
Candace, is this your screen?
Yes.
Can you get to the top?
Can we move? You can control it, shift it, Tammy's saying.
Okay, let me ask Candace a question. Candace, is this the one I sent this morning, or is this from the Google?
One second. It's moving around.
Okay, this is on the Google Drive. the one
Okay.
that you were working on just prior to this meeting.
Okay, can you scroll to the, past our names into, okay. All right, if everybody can look at the summary. Um,
Tammy's saying, I'm trying to, explain to all of you that you can control, like you can move it over, you can move the screen. So it's, one side's bigger than the other. You can have it so you can see it better. So you can control, there's like a little toggle in the middle that you can control. So as far as sharing the screen. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
is everybody okay with that? Okay, if we look at this, priorities that we have listed here, this is what we as a board, number 2, Candace, we need to change that. The wording on that, number 2.
Okay. Tammy's saying, as far as the budget, the number 2.
Where it says the Board of Trustees puts forth these immediate priorities. Can I type?
Go ahead.
Nothing's happening.
Candace, maybe she can type, Tammy's saying.
Share screen just allows us to see what is on her screen.
Okay, Candace, go back to number 2 on that priority. And it should state that would be a recurring $50,000 lease appropriation upgrade for the entire NCSD Wi-Fi system. Okay. All right. And Aaron, I'm going to ask you right there, when we met with Ms. Dye, when we met with Hannah, she said that you prefer to lease rather than just buying the system.
Us to have newer equipment more frequently, and $50,000 is easier to come up with than $150,000.
And we have asked for that to be a recurring annual appropriation. Okay. We have okay, I was checking on the interpreter. It's freezing there. And the reason we've asked for $400,000 is Mr. Campbell told us that he had thought we could get services through the Attorney General, but apparently that's going away when DPI goes away. So in case something happens, we have upped that to $400,000. Does anybody have any objections? As we go through this, if you do not agree, please say so as we go down these different, okay? Can everybody see this page? Does anybody have, I don't need to sit and read all this to you. Does anybody have any objections through this?
This is Hannah. I just have a quick question.
Mhm.
So I see that the HR position is on here, but we've also asked for a business office position because we've also been doing duties that DPI currently does, but it's not on here.
We can add that down here, Hannah, that it's just an oversight because it's in the body of the report. Are you going to that section, Candace? There it is, business office. There it is, Hannah.
What I can see is the HR.
And reclassify NCSD's current HR consultant to human resource. No, that's HR. We need business, Candace. There we go.
Okay.
We're not going to put position numbers in, Candace, because I spoke with Leslie a little bit ago and she's not sure about the numbers.
And I also had a question. So I noticed number 6 said to like a hiring freeze or to hold on reclassifications. But then like right here, you have reclass the current administrative specialist. So how will that work if you're proposing a freeze?
A freeze till July 1st.
Right, but those positions need to be reclassified now in order for them to be able to receive the access and the training prior to July 1.
Well, the reason we have that in there is because there's we have no money to pay the legal fees. That's a way to get it, is to hold those until July 1. And I defer to the board. I mean, whatever the board wants to do here, but
and Sandy, this is
Yes,
Mark. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and step in here as well. In order for us to be able to ensure that our staff members are ready to be able to move forward on July the 1st, we have no choice but to be able to move forward with the reallocation of at least 3 positions. And
Okay.
then additionally, student-facing positions, I don't feel like that it would be a appropriate recommendation to hold potential hires to serve children directly.
where are we going to get the money for the reclassification?
Well, we were first talking about trying to figure out where we were going to get the money for the attorney's fees. And during our meeting on Tuesday, Chris felt like the money that has been set aside should be sufficient with good organization of meetings, as well as doing some pairing with GMS to do some of the work for both. And
Well,
so I
don't know if the board knows this, but at this point, NCSD only has $5,000 to pay our lawyer. And there was a request for 25. So we're going to be short. We don't have the money to pay the legal that the other schools have. So I want the board to be aware that this is going on, and this is why we've put these things in here. Now I'm deferring to the board, whatever the board wants to do.
And Sandy, this is Mark again, and I think that the board needs to have some clear understanding on your statement about the $25,000 recommendation as well. We did not get that required recommendation until just a couple months ago. And as we have shared with the board multiple times, we solidify our budget in May and then meet with staff members in the summer and then begin spending on July 1 per that. And so we had no recollection or knowledge that we were going to be requested to come up with any kind of lawyer's fees And so the way you made that statement, I think it sounds as if we could potentially have misappropriated. And I want to make sure that it's very clear to the board that the recommendation from DPI was up to 25. And that was not where we were not able to meet that recommendation. That was not a requirement that we put forth, and it certainly wasn't a requirement that was given to us on during budget development.
Well, I'm going by what Hannah told us Friday, that you all were asked to set aside not legal fees, but transition fees, transition monies, and that you all set aside 30,000 at that time. Now, is that correct or incorrect?
It is correct, but see, part of that money was the emails that we don't pay for. It was part of Mr. Buckwell's salary as well as the board training. And so that money that we thought we would need is already gone because it's already been spent on those particular things that were part of the transition or are part of the transition.
Well, I'm going to defer to the board as to how they would like, what they would like to do here. And I can only see Candace, so I don't know what the rest of them were thinking at this time. Discussion? Ray's talking here.
Gallery view, so we can see everyone. Can we put the gallery view back on? It's on the top right, Tammy's saying.
That we can dictate for everyone. Each person has to do that individually.
Okay.
This is Mark. If Dr. Tate would just stop sharing her screen for some conversation, then everybody would pop. There you go. Everybody would pop back up there.
We're doing an interpreter switch.
Okay, discussion? Does anybody have an opinion? Mickey?
I mean, I feel like it's between a rock and a hard place. I mean, we need the money, but at the same time, we need the training. So I don't know. Is there any middle ground with any of this? Anybody got any ideas about that?
Mark,
Mr. Buckwell, do you have any ideas?
Mark, do you have a suggestion of how we will pay the legal fees if we don't have enough money?
And this is Mark, and that will be something that Hannah and I will continue to work on each month as expenditures come through, which is the only way that we would be able to do that. Again, I think it's very important that all of the board members know and understand that NCSD pinches every penny, and there is certainly no extra money. And so because we don't have large numbers of positions, and currently NCSD has 9 vacant positions, and we have subs in 6 of those. So we are only generating lapsed salary that is coming from three positions, but a lot of that lapsed salary is required for our second and third shift differential payment. It goes to pay the subs, of course. And so there are many requirements that we have to go through, but I understand that this is a recommendation that I certainly was not aware of. It would have been nice to have been able to have talked that through but certainly with Hannah and I, but it is not something that I feel like that we can hold a minimum of 3 positions. We will have to move forward with a minimum of 3 of the positions regardless, to be able to ensure that we have the appropriate staff in place for our HR department, for our business office, and for our IT, to be able to ensure that hiring is completed, training is completed, as well as access is gained, to be able to move forward as of July 1, when everything will come over to basically these 3 staff members and their teams to be able to complete the work that's required.
Well, as Dr. Buckwell stated earlier, the board needs legal representation as we move forward on these policies. I mean, we're in crunch time with that. And our request has been and is going to be again in this report that we have a lawyer present at all of our meetings. We need to have legal advice as we move forward. And what I was told by you in the meeting with Chris, and then again with Hannah, is that $5,000 is it. You have no more money.
And again, I get that information from Hannah, and she is the expert when it comes to that, and so I take my information from her.
Right, and I have provided all of that information. You know, you've got our last year, 5 years expenditures, you've got what we reverted, you have the budget report. I would also like to say that lapsed salary currently, we have a repair for our boiler in the works, and so that's about $80,000, but we have to have heat and we have to have water, so that's not something that I can just cancel because, you know, I understand you need legal representation and no one is questioning that. It's just, again, we plan our budget in the summer to be able to spend appropriately, and we're just at the end of the year when we typically don't have any money, and we're being asked, you know, to squeeze blood out of a turnip, if you will. So if we can come up with some funding, I'm happy to do it, but just right now, I just do not see that at this point.
Does anybody else have any suggestions, ideas, or Mickey?
Well, Mr. Buckwell, excuse me. You're our guru, so, and you're supposed to be, and you are helping us with this transition. Do you have any insight or words of wisdom to help us solve this problem?
Well, and clearly I'm not Mr. Blackwell, so that'll work.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. That was meant to be funny, not disrespectful. He is a cherished member of the state legislature. So I will tell you that Hannah and Mark have done an exceptional job of managing the funds for the school. And
I would agree.
And and Hannah has provided me with the same report that she's given you, and I've looked through it thoroughly. And as a former superintendent and person who managed to squeeze pennies at our district, I don't see additional funding at this point. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because there's always projects that don't get finished, contracts that don't get completed. So there's probably funds that in April and May would come available because the contracts weren't finished or the funds weren't expended. I don't know that there's $400,000 sitting there. I'd bet you a lot that wasn't the case. But they have done a good job, and we will continue to look for funding. And again, I would encourage, and it's in the report, obviously, that you have here, that you request this kind of funding going forward, because it is not cheap to have legal representation. And one of the first, I'll say, crisis I saw when I came on board was that there wasn't dedicated legal representation except from DPI, and they weren't going to be able to support the policy and representation type of need that you were going to have as a board. And so it's been raised up the flagpole, so to speak, for since December, and it will continue to be a concern of ours. I don't have a magic potion, but I promise you it's a discussion topic every time we meet.
Well, it just, it comes down to us, to the students, which none of us want to see the students suffer because of lack of money, or the facility, because I love NCSD students and I love the staff and I love the facility and I have dedicated my life to it. But at the same time, I don't want to put my family in jeopardy by being sued by somebody when I don't have legal representation. So it's a really difficult situation, and I don't want Mark and Hannah to think that we're blaming them. They do a wonderful job, and they make silk out of sow's ears, and I appreciate that. But you have to appreciate the situation that we find ourselves as individuals in also.
Absolutely. And I know that I was on a phone call with Chris earlier, and I know he understands that clearly. And it is a topic of conversation for all the pertinent parties in this case. I did want to add one thing from before. Dr. Morrow, I think, just sent out our report, and it will be in draft form until it's formally submitted on the 15th. So there are still changes that we could make in our draft JLOC report, but you should have it as a board. Maybe you have it already, but if not, it should be coming to you shortly. But it will be in draft form. It won't be in formal presentation form yet because it hasn't been approved.
And I just also want to note that there's not anything I can do about this year's budget, but on the budget request that I just put in for 24-25, the legal representation is on that, and that's $400,000. I'm not saying it'll get pushed through, but I am asking for it.
Well,
Thank you, Hannah.
and we're asking for all of that also. And there is a part in this report that, this is the summary, but in the details, and there's a part in this report where we have requested from DPI that they supplement. They find some money to move to NCSD to make sure that we can keep legal representation. And if they do that, then we would be okay. But if we're saying, if NCSD is saying that $5,000 is the limit, that we have no more money to put toward legal, there has to be a way somewhere that we can do that. And like I said, I defer to the board. You all need to speak what you think. Tammy, you got your hand up. I'm sorry.
Yes. So did we talk about liability insurance also? Because I think we're going to need, the board needs liability insurance, and we need that cost included in our calculations. They can't expect us to transition to an independent agency without any kind of, additional money. That's just crazy to me to try to make that kind of transition. So it's like Mickey said, we do need to protect ourselves, and having an attorney is part of that. I think having some liability insurance would be a part of that. The state board training that we had, I think, that's also important. So.
And this is Mark. Tammy, just last week, Dr. Buckwell he got a win and shared some information with us in regards to where we can reach out and get some liability insurance for the board. And Hannah and I will begin working on that as soon as I get back from vacation. And so that is something that will be forthcoming, and certainly that will be in place well prior to the July 1, the July 1 meeting. But again, of course, that takes funding as well. And so we're hoping that we can get a policy that will start us on July 1. And so we can use next year appropriations for that.
Okay, this is Sandy. I've got a question about that, Mark. And you had told us before that we were going to be affiliate members of the School Board Association, and in that we would get liability insurance. So, okay, now we've got a different opportunity for liability insurance. Which way are we going? And I think the board needs to be assured in some way that we're going to have that liability insurance. Do you have any, what's the thing with the School Board Association now?
Mark, can I help you with that?
I would appreciate that, since you're the one who got the information, and I would just be sharing it from your mouth.
Gotcha. So the individual public school units, or LEAs, have to purchase that insurance separately from being a member of the School Board Association. And what I got for Mark was the contact information from the agency, which in Kannapolis, we bought the directors and officers liability insurance, which would cover the Board of Trustees, in our case, the Board of Education. Excuse me for my slip there. But that insurance would be a purchased item in next year's budget. And, Hannah and Mark and I have talked about those items, and it's also been run up again, the flagpole for the legislature to understand that there are expenses as a state agency and as a public school unit that you did not have in 2023 that you will have in 2024. Legal, insurance. There are several others I couldn't think of off the top of my head.
And additionally, Sandy, it was found out when we were working through this process recently that affiliate membership is different than full membership. And so what we thought we were going to be able to get through the State Board Association, we're not going to be able to get through the State Board Association. Hence the reason why Dr. Buckwell has done lots of investigation and been able to provide Hannah and I with additional information for us to be able to now move forward in a different direction with updated information.
We're doing interpreter switch.
Okay. Ready? Okay.
Jimmy's talking now about the budget, the different issues. So I'm wondering, hold on, he froze for just 1 second. So as far as the NCSD, as far as the school department, I had a question. I'm wondering what's it, hold on, he's freezing a lot.
Jimmy, you're going to have to
The hearing school. You keep freezing. Try. So the lotto you're talking about, the lottery access, as far as the public. So the question is, do they get a lottery, the school? Do they get a lottery as far as money, as far as other schools get that? I'm wondering how that works. Like, if the other schools get the lottery, I can't, what if we're desperate for money and we don't have enough money? Is there something, because we're a special school as well? So I'm kind of curious, are we involved in the lottery, or how do the other schools, get involved with that as well? That's what I was kind of wondering, if you had any answer for that.
Well, this is Hannah. We get state appropriated funding. I don't know what pot it comes out of, but I've never been given anything specifically that said lottery funding.
I don't think the school gets any lottery money. Mickey?
I'm wondering if we should tweak that last item about freezing and say, and make an exception to those positions that we're asking for, and freeze any other hires or positions until July 1st, because that would still give time to hire people, that would go into positions in the classroom or whatever, but would not freeze those positions that we need for those people to get trained before July the 1st.
Well, I have a question, and this is the third different figure that we've gotten on vacancies. We were told in the meeting with Chris that there were 3. Then Hannah had thought that there were 6, and now Mark has said there's 9. Do we know how many vacancies actually we've got on that you all are using lap salary from?
Well, that changes. Like, for example, we had a vacant child nutrition position last month, but that person will start on the 15th. So, I mean, it ebbs and flows. There's not a definitive, oh, we have 6, oh, we have 6, because it depends, hire date, leave date, all of that.
Well, this is me not being a business manager, and you are, and that's great. And I commend you greatly for your mathematical skills. But if you're using lap salary for the extra money that is to be available, how can you know how much you'll have when your vacancies rise and fall?
So DPI Finance, which Cheryl Hearn, who's our budget analyst, she sends us periodic reports. So HR and I share a report as far as our salary reserve goes, and that also has vacancies on there. But DPI sends us the report because it's not just salaries, it's salaries and benefits that are in there. So again, it ebbs and flows, but she keeps that and then sends that to us.
But my question is, okay, right now you all have $5,000 to pay legal, but you also have enough money in salary to hire these 3 or reclassify these 3 positions. And if they're going to be reclassified, are they going to be reclassified at a higher level, a higher pay rate? How
So
are you?
there's 2 pots of money. There's lap salary, which generates from vacant salaries only. Then there is salary reserve, where you can only touch that when you are reclassifying. Meaning, for example, if we had someone, a 30-year veteran teacher that was making $60,000, and then you hire in a second-year teacher that makes $40,000, that gives you $20,000 of salary reserve. You cannot use it for any projects or anything. You can only use it for hiring, for recruitment, and for hiring. So that money is salary reserve, and that is how you reclassify positions. Lap salary is what you generate from vacant positions. So a reclassification will not come from lap salary. It will come from salary reserve.
And you have enough to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
There's another issue here that you need to be aware of. So the legislature doesn't come back to sometime in March. In the most expeditious timeline that and I don't know anything other than what you know either, but from my experience, the most expeditious timeline would not get you a law change until early to mid-May. And that includes sitting on the governor's desk for up to 10 days to be approved. So the earliest you're going to get any relief at all, in my opinion, is going to be just as school ends. So this issue is a somewhat bigger issue than just the amount of money you need. It's about timing, and the timing is not in your favor.
Yeah.
And just kind of close the loop on this as well. It would almost be impossible for us to take a recommendation from the board for a hiring freeze when we have 3 additional teachers that are going to be retiring, and we have currently 3 interns and another intern at another school for the deaf that would like to come and join us. we are anticipating hiring them in mid-May as the day after they graduate. If we cannot do that, then more than likely we will lose them because they will be recruited to either other public schools as teachers of the deaf or to other deaf schools in other states. So I highly recommend that a hiring freeze not be recommended, because it would be impossible for us to be able to follow that and meet the needs of the students. And so I think that it is important that the board continues to hear that Hannah and I, through Dr. Buckwell's review, through Wallace's review, are pinching every penny that is, and we are doing every single thing that we can to ensure that there are funds left. Additionally, spending ends on May 15th. So, I mean, everything that you can do pretty much, except for buying food and gas for buses and things like that. And most of the time we try to do that before May 15th. Everything kind of comes to a close at that point. So that's just kind of to close the loop on that for the teachers, as well as for the 3 positions that we need to reallocate to ensure that we are ready to go with access and personnel for the transitional items coming in beginning on July the 1st.
And I fully understand the business about the training, because that was the one thing we've heard over and over and over, that everybody needs to get their training. What's the board? What do you suggest we do here? Tammy?
Candace, are you expected to be doing a review as far as the policies, like the HR policies? Are we going to have any recommendations for that by the 9th as far as the next meeting? I'm wondering, as far as the policies, are there going to be any changes? Do we want to be able to see that? Do we see that happening? Are there going to be any new positions? That's all kind of new. So I wasn't sure what your thoughts were about that. Are we working closely together with the review, the HR policies, chatting with the schools, HR as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to be able to do that. Yes, Tammy. Yes. Because without being able to have discussions, we're just working in the dark. Yeah. Okay, Mickey, you had a suggestion. I'm sorry, it's passed by me here.
No, I was just saying that if we wanted to hit a middle ground, that we could tweak that last recommendation to make an exception and say, except for those HR and business office people, so they could be reclassified and they could do their training.
Well, let me ask Hannah a question direct.
Okay.
And that is, if there's a hiring freeze, if there's a reclassification freeze, does that open up any money that can be used in the transition?
No, ma'am, because all of that money comes out of salary reserve. And the only thing we can do with that is hire, reclass, and recruit. That money is not used for anything else.
So it wouldn't help if we did that.
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, that clears that. I mean,
Yeah.
that could have.
And I also want to remind that currently the board doesn't really have authority to be able to tell us that we cannot hire, and we want to work together, and we want we want to be able to utilize recommendations from the board, and we would not want to move forward with hiring if that was a recommendation from you, but it's impossible for us to be able to do that and meet the business needs of the school and to be able to hire highly qualified deaf teachers in the near future. So I make a strong recommendation to remove that statement, because number one, there is no authority. Number two, it's using different money. And number three, we have to be able to move forward with transitional needs, staffing, as well as hiring and getting the training necessary to be able to move forward. Just as passionately as all of the board members want to be able to have protection, we have to be able to have training, and we have to be able to have staff in place to be able to ensure that we're ready to go, because the burden of this is upon really four of us at the school and their teams.
And I want to make a correction there, Mark. As Chris said, this board still has to be able, we still have to be able to participate in this before July 1st. Now, in addition to that, this is not a law. This is our report from what we see, from what we've learned from the staff, which is limited to what we need to report back to the legislatures. It's not going back to DPI, it's going to the legislatures. They do not know that you only have $5,000 for a lawyer. But we do. And we're concerned about that. So therefore, we're looking for ways to get the money to keep legal at our meetings. So therefore, if that's not the same money, then it's a moot point. So let's look at, we're never going to get through this report. On the next page, Candace, can you bring that back up? I don't know where Candace went. It would look like page 5, I think. Let's see. And this is asking for the HR consultant to be reclassified as the director. I can't move this screen, Candace. Okay, thank you. Create and fund an additional HR tech. Now, something came through just recently about Fiora and the HR department getting that DPI would be doing part of this. Does anybody have any problems with any of this written part here?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to the business office. Look over that part and see if there's anything there that you does anybody have any problems with what's written here in the business office section?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, Tiffany, are y'all changing interpreters?
Oh, yes. We've switched interpreters. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's look at the information technology. I think that's where we changed the wording from $150,000 to asking for a lease. And it's right there in the second paragraph. And we've also asked that technology get access to this Microsoft business. Okay, and staffing and training. And that came through the IT part to make sure that they got the necessary training for technology to meet all state information and regulations. Does anybody have any problems with any of that wording in there? Okay. Others? This section 2, we really didn't change much of that from the report we did in December. I know there's going to be, almost sounds to me like a two-party system between 115C employees and 126 employees. Not sure what this is here. We need to change that word there to employees, Candace, whatever that part is.
So I'm interested in seeing what the DPI report says under these next sections.
Well, these are kind of placeholders, if
Yeah,
you
okay.
call them that.
Yeah.
And until we get the DPI report to find out what exactly they have stated in theirs. Because they're kind of, but I would change that word right there. That should be employees, 126 employees.
I've been meeting with the HR here at Broughton Hospital, which understands the classifications of these different types of employees. So they've been educating me on the differences and what we would need to be doing moving forward. So I'd like to see DPI's response, and then we'll flesh that out to.
Okay. Let's just hold that then for now. Same with section 3, and then we come down to section 4. I think we can take this paragraph here concerning Dr. Buckwell and thank him for being at our meeting today. So I would like to ask Dr. Buckwell, if he's still here, are you all going to continue to meet even though DPI will not be sending us any more reports?
Yes, ma'am. Our intent is for myself or Dr. Morrow to be at each of your ongoing meetings.
So you're going to be coming to the actual board meetings rather than meeting among yourselves? Or is that correct?
If I understand your question correctly, I think we're doing both. We're having meetings with Mark and all the folks in administration, but we're also attending your board meetings.
Okay. Could we make a request that when you all meet, I know that we've been told that Mark is our liaison and that he will be giving us reports, but could we get those reports from you all or Dr. Mara and get them in a very timely manner?
I will take that back to Dr. Jordan and ask that question. Basically, when we meet, we're discussing questions that were brought up at board meetings or that have impact to what are concerns for the 3 schools. So it's not when I say this, I don't mean it disrespectful. It's not a secret or anything. I just want to make sure that I know what you were asking for.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to get a summary report from you all to know what DPI is considering and what we're expected to do.
I think I understand that, and that would be easy to do. That's, in my opinion, it's not a problem. But I'll run that up with Dr. Jordan and make sure that that the department is fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
this is Mark and Dr. Buckwell. When you do tell Dr. Jordan that, be sure that he knows that I have been sending summary transition reports to the board as well.
Okay,
I know that he's going to ask that question.
sure, no problem.
Thank you.
And Candace, we can move up to funding the transition. Okay, this is where we talked about in this report about the transition monies or whatever was put in to be available, and that we only have $5,000 remaining to pay legal funds. And if you will look at the last sentence, it says that if NCSD does not have sufficient funds, it's requested that DPI pay these fees by supplementing funds from other sources. I have no idea that will happen, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Okay, and we can move on to legal. And here we've asked again for just reports, and we did compliment the fact that there would be legal counsel, and I think we can strike that last sentence, Candace. Thank you. Okay.
That one, Sid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add there? Candace?
So what about the liability insurance?
Well, I think I don't know that, I think we definitely need to address that somewhere, because I think all of us as board members want to be assured that liability insurance is going to come through. You want to put something right there where you are? We actually need that liability insurance beginning July 1st. Yep. Looks good. Anybody else have anything they want to add right there? Okay. Budgetary adjustments, I think, is the next thing in that. And here we're asking for an adjustment to be made of 2.5% to 3%, considering the budget hasn't been changed. Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to add there?
This is Ray. It says LI. Could we maybe put the word in instead of the abbreviation where it says LI?
Line item.
Judy Linux.
No, it's line item.
And it's saying, really? Ray said there's one more also where it's abbreviated.
Okay. I wish I could do that. I need computer training.
This is Hannah.
Yes,
That first line, LI, is legislative increase because we've only had legislative increases. We haven't had the same budget.
thank you. Thank you. Okay. That don't go there. Changing it, but that don't go there. Okay, in conclusion, is a summary of asking for an increase to meet the inflation. And we're just reiterating there that anybody else have anything they want to add there?
We'll go ahead and do an interpreter switch real quick.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on through the inclusion there. Candace. Okay, here we need to make some changes then. All right. We need to change this the 4 priorities to 6. Ooh. This is beginning to look like I'm driving that computer. Let's take that. Let's take that. The Board of Trustees puts forth the immediate priorities. Let's take that line out of there. Excuse me. And we can We'll take off number 12. And add another 12. I don't know why we have 7 through 12. Now Ray's going to edit. Candace,
I can change one through five. I can change those numbers.
we need to add a 6. Don't take that off. Okay, and then the 6 would be the additional business. Who's typing? Who's typing?
Candace? Me?
Candace,
Candace?
additional business position. Okay. What's next on that one? I don't know how these reports get so screwed up. Is there another section down there, Candace? There we go.
IT position reclassification and the business office reclassifications.
Okay, let's back up. Yeah, it should. Is Candace still typing? I can't see her. I don't know where she is.
1 second.
There you are.
So, we have a large number of requests in the document. We're trying to narrow it down to the utmost essentials. And that was what the point of this paragraph, both here and above, is that, do we want to list each priority again for all of them, or how do you want to classify the prioritization?
What does the board feel? Hello, does anybody have any response here?
Can you scroll up so I can read it all? I don't want to miss anything. Can you go up again?
Well, we were talking about the priorities down here at the bottom, not the whole report. Candace, go back to those, the very last. Right here. That's what you would, Candace is, I can't see the interpreter name. Is that what you were asking about?
maybe this is where some guidance from Dr. Buckwell would come in. We have a large document with a large number of asks of different things that we feel are absolutely necessary for the transition. And trying, the idea here was to highlight the ultimate priorities that absolutely must happen as soon as possible. Should the summary include all recommendations, or is it beneficial to have a top short list of priorities?
Honestly, I would suggest that you include all your recommendations, and this summary does a good job of refocusing the folks who read this back on what your needs are. If I'm not mistaken, though, I think you had additional business positions versus position. I'm not completely sure of that because how the documents work, but I think you were essentially upgrading one position or two positions and then adding a third.
Right. So I can flesh all of those out in this summary list. We don't go through all of that right here, right now with everybody. That's at the
Right.
time, but I can go back through the report and pull each recommendation, single line item for each. But then, do we want to list them in order of a priority?
We can, Candace, this is Sandy. We can do that as we finalize this after we get DPI's report in. And so what I suggest is, since we think maybe their report has dropped today. Okay, wait a minute. I got a question from Tammy. Tammy?
When is DPI report coming in? When's that?
It's due tomorrow.
It is actually in an email to you guys right now, if I'm not mistaken. I received an email from Dr. Morrow just in the last hour with it on there. And if it's not to all board members, I know Ms. Turner, I don't know, but I think Ms. Turner was included in that email.
Well, if I was, I will forward it out tonight.
Gotcha.
Uh,
And Ms. Turner, if not, let me know and I'll make sure that you guys get it. There's not a problem with that.
It's here. It's here. I do have it. So I will forward that to the whole board tonight. We can take a look at it. What I need for you all to do is to look at your calendar and let's decide on a meeting at the very end of March to finalize this report and get it sent. We have an extension on this report, but we need to get it in before the beginning of April so that the General Assembly has it. We have an extension until April 1st, but we need to have I spoke with Hugh Blackwell, and he said it would be good that it's in so that they can have it read and had gone through it before short session starts. So I was looking at March 20th as an all Zoom meeting. Let me know if you have a conflict, and can we go back to a full gallery view so that I can see everybody? Okay, thank you.
I can't do March 20th, Ray said.
What day can you do, Ray? What day can you do?
Wednesdays, because I teach classes. I can't do Mondays and Wednesdays. I teach classes. Tuesday, Thursday,
Ray?
Friday's fine.
Okay, I'll have to get a calendar and look at that.
Sandy,
Yes,
what about Tuesday, the 26th?
can do. Can anybody else do that? March 26th?
Wow, spring break. I can probably do that anytime, Ray said.
26th, Jimmy?
Anytime.
Okay.
Tammy, yes.
Candace? You good?
Yep. Thumbs up.
Okay. March 26th.
At 4 o'clock? Or what
at
time?
4 o'clock, Zoom only meeting.
Zoom?
Yep. Tammy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is a good time to ask about you coming in on the 9th. You can ask Mark about your reimbursement.
I plan to drive 6 hours. Just need a place to stay. Like a hotel. Is it possible? Is that possible to be covered for that? Yes. Can you let me know a good hotel that's near the school? Mark's saying yes. I will. I'll come on the 8th. I'll be driving on the 8th, so I'll probably have to stay like maybe 2 nights around that 8th night.
Okay. April 9th is an important meeting for the board because you will be meeting the lawyer for the first time in person. And I want you to be able to ask him the questions you want to ask. And if nobody has any other, my shortened agenda says April 19th is our next in-person. Yes, 4 o'clock. But it'll be April 9th at 4 o'clock in Hoffmeyer Cafeteria. And at that meeting, we have some introductory policies.
Is there a tour before the meeting?
I hope to have that set up at 2 o'clock. I hope to have that set up at 2 o'clock. On April 9th,
Okay.
we're going to invite several of the other leadership team members, and we're going to invite the school improvement team. We need to hear from them as far as our curriculum and how that's going. So anybody have any other requests for the 9th?
Are you wanting to discuss the policies, the recommendations on that day as well?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Why is Ray laughing? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I saw Tammy and Candace's facial expressions, the two of them making faces about the policies that we're working on.
It'll be an all-nighter. Since you're going to be here, Tammy, for 2 nights, it'll be an all-nighter.
Qualifying skills.
Okay, anybody have anything they want to add? I know this has been long, but thank you very much. And
Thank you for guys, Buckwell, Chip, for coming.
yes.
Guys for having me. I'll
Can't,
see you in August. I'll see you in April or in
maybe in March. So, and honestly, it does mean a lot to us to have you here. and be able to ask you direct questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So does anybody else have anything else? Now, on the April 9th meeting, that is going to be an official meeting, so we'll have a lot of minutes to approve because we've had meetings in between. So we're going to have to approve all of that. We'll get a formal agenda out. But does anybody have anything they want to add to that April 9th meeting? Candace, do you want to add any more to the April 9th meeting?
We'll see. I want to see the pledge. Follow that.
Yeah, we do want the students back to lead the pledge. That was very nice, and it really meant a lot to the board, and I think it meant a lot to our students. Okay. Do I hear any suggestions that we adjourn? Just raise your hand. Thank you all. Bye. Thank you to our interpreters. Thank you, Tanya.